On today's show,
there's a new sheriff in town as LeBron James fires back at longtime critic Charles Barkley.
In the Up-Down report, do the Magic need to trade Serge? Which veteran PG should the Cavs grab? And raise the cat!
And Jared Greenberg joins us live from San Antonio to get us set for some Thunder Spurs action.
It's Tuesday, January 31st. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to The Starters. Whether you're listening to the podcast, joining us live right now on NBA TV, or later on YouTube, we're very, very happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tas Melis.
Doing my best Donald Trump Jr. impression.
Nice hair. To his right, international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lee, great to have you back, buddy.
Thank you.
And last, certainly not least, you're welcome. Over there, it's the bearded one, it's Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
TK, what's poppin', man?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at #TheStarters. And guys, the Miami Heat are on fire, pun. But seriously, they are the hottest team in the league, pun. Okay, just joking. They have won 8 straight games, which is currently the best streak in the league. They've been so good, in fact, that they've started giving themselves nicknames. This tweet comes from Tim Reynolds at the AP, who says, Goran Dragic and Dion Waiters now want to be called 7-Eleven. We're always open, Dion said, and guess what? Their numbers are 7 and 11. Brilliant stuff, and it brings us to today's question.
Not bad.
What stores could be NBA nicknames? For instance, you could call Isaiah Thomas Best Buy because he's been an MVP candidate this year while working on one of the cheapest contracts in the league. Or Lee, you'll love this. You could call TJ McConnell TJ Maxx.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically his name anyways. Or you could even call Jamal Crawford Forever 21 because I'm telling you, this guy looks the exact same as he did when he came in the league. He is literally Forever 21. It's amazing. Nonetheless, we want to hear from you, so let us know on Twitter what stores could be NBA nicknames. Send us your best tweets to #TheStarters, and we'll hear from you later.
All right, get those
Nice.
tweets in. I think we're going to get some good answers here tonight. All right, we got the Up-Down report. We're going to talk to Jared Greenberg live from San Antonio, get us set for the Thunder Spurs game. But first, I mean, it was the talk of the town today. LeBron James versus Charles Barkley. Bron sounding off last night on Chuck. This is some of the money quotes here. I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. I'm not the one who threw somebody through a window. I never spit on a kid. I never had unpaid debt in Las Vegas. I never said I'm not a role model. I never showed up to All-Star Weekend on Sunday because I was in Vegas all weekend partying. All I've done for my entire career is represent the NBA the right way. 14 years, never got in trouble, respected the game. Print that or put it on a full screen on the starters. Okay, I added that last part, but we got to play a little 3-on-3 edition here of LeBron versus Barkley. TK, you got some big cues with this.
No doubt. LeBron is maybe the most criticized basketball player in league history, and we've never seen him this mad at the media before. You guys think LeBron is overreacting to Barkley's comments?
Well, let's get this straight. He's not just reacting to Barkley saying this week that LeBron is complaining that he doesn't have a good enough team. This is LeBron pent-up frustrations over the years getting back at Barkley. I understand that players don't really benefit from speaking out every time someone insults them, so I understand why LeBron has pent-up frustrations, but at this point in LeBron's career, I think he can speak any time that someone talks about him because we respect him, right? And I think some of the good stuff that LeBron said was kind of buried under the surface because, yeah, he said all that, but some of the stuff that we could learn about, like he talked about Barkley back in the day being friends with MJ in the NBA Finals when all we think about is, oh, all these guys are friends these days. Back in those days, no one were friends. You know, we could have a conversation about basketball rather than all this sort of surfacey player versus media type. But listen, that's Barkley's job is to talk about the players. So there have been so many more instances of media, him talking about LeBron than LeBron talking about him the other way, right?
So he's paid to do that.
Yeah,
he's paid to be an analyst / entertainer. That's what he is at this point.
But LeBron's not overreacting because LeBron's a winner. He's been to the finals 7 times. He's got 3 championships. He's a 4-time MVP. He knows what it takes to win.
Are you hitting me with the rings?
No, I'm saying he deserves respect from everybody. And he's not getting it in this instance. And you know what? If LeBron's saying he needs better player or needs new players and that, he's allowed to say that because, again, he knows what it takes to win. What's the worst thing LeBron's done off the court as well? The decision. That's it.
I know, but as far as the comments about having a better team, I think even LeBron knew that that wasn't the best way to go about it.
But it doesn't matter. Maybe that is the best way to go about it because, again, maybe he has spoken to the management behind the scenes and they haven't done what he feels they need to have done. So he's perhaps brought it out. Speculating for sure. But again, if that's what it takes, if your star player says, this is what we need, you have to listen to him. Nobody knows the team better than the star player. He's playing far too many minutes right now, and he's worried that maybe come June, he's going to run out of gas. So he needs to help, and he needs some more players there. But as far as his legacy goes, yes, he is without question the top 2, 3, 4, 5 players we've ever seen. There's no doubt about that. So he deserves the respect from the media and from everybody around the league.
I want to hear LeBron talk more. He is an ambassador for this game.
Yeah,
it is. You know, Trey brought it up today on our Twitter show today. He is an ambassador. He's almost Kobe-like right now, where Kobe at the end of his career just talk. And that's what we want LeBron to do, right? LeBron, I think, feels comfortable in his own skin. He goes back and he gets that championship that Cleveland deserved. And now he can talk. I think he should be free and open to discuss whatever he wants because I understand having a mic there is no real benefit to speak out every single day. But LeBron has been great at speaking about social issues. Now let's talk some basketball, you know? And I think we learned a few things from LeBron. After all those comments, we learned about guys, they were friends. They went golfing together, apparently. Let's get Barkley on here to talk about the golfing, the rounds of golfing that they had in between those finals games.
Back then, guys from the era before that said guys were too friendly in the 90s. So that's something.
Get off my lawn, I'm an old man. That's what he calls exactly. All right, let's next question here.
You guys are being too friendly over there. But between this and a couple of weeks of LeBron zinging the Cavs over their roster, LeBron has been pretty grumpy cat lately. Tell me, guys, why is LeBron in such a bad mood?
I think it's a lot of things, right? First and foremost, it's probably the losing.
Of course.
LeBron James is not used to losing. That's the honest truth, and he just got done a losing month. In the month of January, his team going 7-8. First time in 10 years with a minimum of 10 games played where a LeBron team had a sub-500 record in the month. He's upset about that. He's surly about that. But there are other things, and Brian Windhorst on ESPN had a great article sort of hypothesizing a few other reasons, maybe the Warriors, of course, adding Durant and looking like a juggernaut, playing so much better than the Cavs right now. And then even over the summer, Windhorst pointed out the whole idea where LeBron sort of openly talking about chasing Michael Jordan, chasing those 6 rings. So it's just this pent-up frustration. And it's really just bad timing for Barkley, in my opinion, because to get back to the first question, he did, within all the stuff where he did call LeBron whiny and he thought it was inappropriate, Barkley had many compliments of saying he's the best player in the world, he's a great player, he's a great guy. It was just sort of peppered in there, right?
Yeah.
Where Barkley, his opinion was it's weird that he's whining as a defending champ that they need another player. They have a great team. But this is just all these things, I guess what I'm getting at. It makes this sort of testy LeBron.
I understand why he's Bob Surly right now. But if LeBron has those comments, does he have them any other time other than when he's losing? I don't think he comes out and says, hey, we need another player if they're 10-2 this month, right?
No way.
No,
not a chance.
That's what's
they have
happening.
injuries mounting up. He feels like he's playing way too many minutes. That also comes into play, I think, here. He wishes he was probably resting more, not playing so many minutes. Yeah, so if they were winning, this doesn't happen.
But you dig a little deeper into the January month as well. One win came over a team over 500.
Yeah.
That was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They played a lot of teams sub 500. This was not a month for them to go below 500 as far as the actual month goes. They should have been piling up the wins this month. They played Brooklyn a couple of times, Phoenix, teams that really just they should have gone out and walked past. And LeBron,
they're still the number one team in the East.
I know, but
they know that, and that's why they're playing like that.
Yeah, I know, but LeBron he played the most minutes. And he's played the most games as well in that month. And this is not the time where he needs to be playing heavy minutes. He should be cruising along right now into the All-Star break and then perhaps ramping it up if they need to secure that number one
spot. As I've said here on the show, hindsight's 20/20, obviously, but I think if they could go back, if they knew they were going to lose all those games in January, they would have just sat LeBron and maybe finish 6-9 or whatever.
David Blatt wouldn't have played in those minutes.
Yeah, well, for sure. All right, final question.
Fire him again.
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps my favorite part of this whole LeBron thing is that he ended this whole thing by saying, I'm tired of biting my tongue. There's a new sheriff in town. So simple question. Do we start calling LeBron the sheriff now?
Interesting.
LeBron the Sheriff James.
No.
The Sheriff LeBron James.
No, we can't.
No, because he called himself that, so you have to earn a nickname. You can't just say, well, now I'm the sheriff.
Didn't he call himself the king, too? Was that bestowed upon him? I don't know.
Well, why
you
not?
can't go from the king to the sheriff. That's a downgrade. Though, I mean, the internet's having fun with the new LeBron sheriff.
That looked more Pharrell-like.
He does rock a hat.
He looks good.
He
man.
likes a
give him
hat, yeah.
Oh, that one's amazing.
Excuse me while I whip this out. Excuse me?
I went with sort of a Rick Grimes sort of vibe to that one. From The Walking Dead there. So.
To me, the original sheriff will always be Shaquille O'Neal. Because he is a deputy sheriff in the state of Georgia. He's got a sheriff badge.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he have a
badge.
hat on then if he's a sheriff?
I've never seen Shaq in a hat. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
He's not performing.
His head's too
he's
big.
They don't make hats
They
that
may
big.
not make hats that size.
Tell that to Burt
All right.
Reynolds.
So let's hear what people think. Jump on Twitter, hashtag the starters. Are we calling LeBron the sheriff now? Is the king dead? Do we go with the sheriff? We gotta tell.
Les Sheriff. What about that?
No.
I don't know. Is he French?
I don't think so.
Sheriff Abdur Rahim. That would have been a good thing.
When we return, is Serge Ibaka on the trading block? We'll break it down. Back with the starters, right into the up-down report, where we figure out where the four of us stand on some hot-button NBA topics. Ask you to do the same on Twitter, hashtag the starters, thumbs up, thumbs down. First one, guys, reinforcements, they could be on the way for Sheriff LeBron. According to Chris Haynes of ESPN, veteran point guards Kirk Hinrich and Mario Chalmers, along with wing Lance Stevenson, are scheduled to work out for the Cavs on Wednesday in hopes of inking a deal. Guys, are you up or down on this trio of names here? Kirk Hinrich, Chalmers, and Lance.
I'm okay with it.
You guys are okay with it?
Yeah.
2/3 up.
Okay.
2/3 up?
Who you down on?
I don't think Lance really fits that team. I don't think as a playmaker. I'm not really sure it's the right position for him. It's the right team for him. I would like to see him come back to a team first, coming off an injury as well. Not sure Lance is really the best player for that team.
See, to me, he is the only guy of these three that is actually a playmaker. Heinrich will maybe make you a jump shot. Mario Chalmers is good at getting yelled at and making some plays, but Lance can actually run the court. He's athletic. Maybe he'll play defense. He can make plays. He can blow in somebody's ear. It's fine.
I don't think they're going to take Lance. They want somebody to steady the waters.
Yeah.
You know, at this point of the season, 50 games in, you've got all these comments happening. I think those other two guys, the pecking order for me is Chalmers. If he looks athletic and healthy, I'm not sure how you can tell that by one workout that he's going into Cleveland to do. Maybe there are multiple workouts after tearing his Achilles.
Right.
And then it's Heinrich to me, again, another solid guy. He's 36, though.
Come on, man.
You're right,
you must
Trey.
not have watched Heinrich play for the Bulls the last couple of years. He's
no,
done.
They're not asking him to do much. But I would think it's Chalmers, Heinrich, and Lance. I just don't think you're going to ask Lance at this point.
We'll find out. All right, moving on here. According to a report by Sean Devaney of the Sporting News, the Orlando Magic have picked up their attempts to trade Serge Ibaka ahead of the February 23rd deadline. Now, Ibaka will become a free agent this summer, so this could be a signal that the Magic aren't all that confident that he will re-sign a long-term deal to stay in Orlando. Guys, are you up or down on the Magic looking to trade Serge Ibaka? Thumbs up. Wow, okay, you're down. Why?
Well, I actually think trading Serge is probably the right move for them, but I don't like the message it sends for the Magic, because to me it says, we don't know what we're doing and we botched the biggest move that we've made in years.
Fair.
They've gone through 4 coaches since 2012. They haven't won more than 35 games since Dwight Howard left. Their players haven't developed, and then they gave up Victor Oladipo in the pick that became Domantas Sabonis for half a season of Serge. That's a pretty bad look.
Yeah, but
so, I mean, trading Serge probably the right move, but bad move all around.
Yeah, so far it hasn't worked out well because they have that huge glut. I said today on the Twitter show that it kind of reminds me of the Phoenix Suns situation where they had 3 point guards a couple of years ago. They've got 3 bigs now, Bismack, Biyombo, Vucevic, and Serge. One's got to go. Serge is, he's only 27 years of age, but if he's not going to sign again, it's the sunk cost theory. Victor Oladipo is gone. They're gone. So what are you going to do? Just let Serge walk? I mean, it makes sense because Aaron Gordon can play the 4 spot. That's his natural position. You get somebody possibly younger that fits their timeline a little bit better. It's unfortunate it doesn't really make sense, but one of those gluts have to go, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Biyombo, though. I mean, signing him to a 4-year, $16 million deal, you're right. I would assume still think Eric Gordon is part of their long-term plan, especially at the 4. It's got to be Vooch or Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
And there will probably be someone out there that would take one of those guys. Absolutely. But, yeah, let's hope they do a better job than the Suns did when they had all their point guards. I mean, not that Bledsoe's bad, but Isaiah Thomas obviously
turned out okay
in
for
MVP
him.
race right now.
And Dragic, what did you get back
Exactly,
for him, right?
exactly. All right, final one here, guys. Real life imitated Twitter. Last night in Philly, the Sixers Game Ops crew decided to bring the meme-tastic online celebration, Raise the Cat, into the arena as the 76ers beat the Kings 122-119. Fans loved it, but what about you guys? Are you up or down on the Sixers Raise the Cat cam? Yeah, there's no problem. Up. Raise that up.
This is going to be one of those things that's a bit of a fad. It'll probably be forgotten soon, so you may as well cash in on it while you can. Everyone's enjoying it. They're winning. Things are going well right now for the Sixers.
Yeah, this might be the best cam we've seen since the Awkward Dad dance cam. And as a cat man myself, I love it. Shout out to my girl, Boots with the Fur.
What about the bongo cam?
Oh, bongo cam was also
Bongo
good.
cam's
Which came
pretty good.
first, the bongo or the Awkward Dad?
I'm not sure.
there's
No, I
no
like
question.
this. I like this.
There's no animal
great.
cruelty here. Everything's fine. We're all catmen up here. It's totally cool.
Okay, well, if we're all into it, why don't we do our own version of the cat cam?
Why don't we?
Cat cam!
Ah,
Raise your boots!
Bootsy!
Is that your cat? Yeah.
That's her! The elusive gray lion looking good!
No, I'm allergic. I'm allergic.
Keyboard cat, you're
Give me
gonna
that
do
cat.
I'm allergic.
cat like that?
I'm allergic. I can't touch it. It gets in my eyes. But sorry, keyboard cat.
Yeah, Garfield. Get up there, Garfield, yeah.
Get up there, buddy!
Oh, we both love lasagna. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoa! That's Carl Anthony Towns!
Raise him up, Tassie, come on.
Raise it up!
Oh,
That's Big Cat?
That's cat!
got him.
You gotta hold him by the butt.
Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on.
No, get him. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Cat cam, catching on. Hashtag
Watch
raise the
that
cat.
finger.
Hashtag raise that
Hey,
cat.
Hello Kitty!
Whoa.
Grab her!
How many cats do we have?
Whoa, hang on.
Oh man,
We
cats,
just
they just
blew our-
multiply like crazy.
We just blew our budget on the cat cam.
It's alright, I'll take them all home.
All right. When we come back, Jared Greenberg joins us live from San Antonio to tee up tonight's Thunder Spurs game on NBA TV. Don't go anywhere. Tonight on NBA TV, it's fan night, and we got a good one. Thunder and the Spurs, and joining us live from San Antonio to get us all set for that big game, it's NBA TV's Jared Greenberg.
Jerry Greenberg. Jerry Greenberg. Jerry Greenberg. Jerry Greenberg.
It has been too long.
It feels like ages ago.
Absolutely. Jared Greenberg in San Antonio. Jared, first things first here. Just saw you were talking to our buddy Matt Bonner on 10 Before Tip. Does he have a future in this business? What do you think?
Well, first and foremost, he was ticked off that he was on 10 Before Tip and not on the starters.
Yeah, right.
He goes, how did I get booked on this garbage program when I should be on with my guys from Toronto? He goes, my guys, Toronto, here we go. He was more excited about that than anything else.
He's an honorary Canadian, Matt Bonner. All right, well, look, like getting into this game, last week we watched, and I have to admit we laughed a little bit at Enes Kanter injuring himself by punching the chair, fracturing his forearm out. Now, what's not funny, of course, about it is he's out 6 to 8 weeks. Is OKC talking about how they're going to deal without the big fella there sort of shoring up the second unit?
Yeah, and I think it's going to become more of a national story after the trade deadline and the MVP push really turns on, because so many of those assists that Westbrook racked up went to Enes Kanter, who was clearly among the favorites for Sixth Man of the Year. And now, finishing up what has been a grueling month, playing 12 of 15 on the road, capping it off here in San Antonio, Billy Donovan is left once again trying to juggle this rotation and figure out what is best to start and what is best to come off the bench.
That's the thing that's been really hard, is because when it happened, it was coming off a back-to-back. We had the next day off, and then we had one day to get prepared and ready to play Cleveland, one day in between this game and Cleveland, playing San Antonio tonight. So this is going to be a work in progress for us. We've got to put some guys in some different spots. We got to move some people around. Some guys are going to be in some different roles. I thought our second unit, we were starting to get into a nice rhythm. It's unfortunate what happened, but I'm hopeful that we can use this time to maybe find out something new about our team that we can utilize and go to maybe as the season unfolds.
Yeah,
Billy Donovan staying optimistic as always, guys, but you have to wonder at what point is the clock starting to tick louder and louder. If the Thunder were to lose tonight, they'd drop down to 7th in the West. And if the playoffs started today, we all love that, right? It would be a 2-7 matchup between the Spurs and Thunder.
Yeah, that'd be all right. Well, look, final question before we let you go, Jared. You alluded to Westbrook there. Coming into this, leading the league in scoring, 30.8 points per game, unbelievable. But going against the Spurs, defensive ace in Kawhi Leonard, is this a one-on-one matchup we expect to see at times tonight, Kawhi on Westbrook? And if so, who does that advantage go to, you think?
Well, the good news for the Spurs is they'll get Jonathan Simmons back, so I think it makes the options a little more plentiful for Greg Popovich, whether it's Danny Green, whether it's Simmons, and of course Kawhi. Maybe at times the point guards get a possession or two, but ultimately, yeah, I think that this is a Spurs team who has never seen Russell Westbrook get a triple-double, and they'd love to keep it that way. One of the very few teams in the NBA left that can brag about that.
Yeah, something to watch. You're absolutely right. One of the teams that Westbrook hasn't racked up the trip dub against. Well, we'll be watching again tonight here on NBA TV. Jared, can't thank you enough. It was great to hear the intro again, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, next time we'll get your map on it.
All right. Don't make a promise you can't keep, Greenberg. All right, we got one more break. When we come back, Lily, you're back, and you got the very solid play.
Oh, yeah.
All right, buddy. We asked you what stores could be NBA nicknames. You hit us up on Twitter, #TheStarters. Trey, you got a few answers.
Yeah, a couple of my favorites. This one comes from D. Priggs, who says John Wall should be Dollar Tree because 10 dimes are too easy. Another one comes from Jake, who says LeBron and the Cavs can be champs, haha. And Heat win 8 in a row. You can call Jabari Parker and Giannis Antetokounmpo Starbucks.
Nice.
That's not bad.
Nice.
They'll play for the Bucks.
That's not bad. Oh, tonight's pick and play. Not that it really matters. It's the Nuggets and Lakers, and we're all taking Denver on the road. Thursday, Trey will be doing the pick and payoff because he lost the month of January. So that's going to be must-watch TV.
That's what I've heard.
That's what they tell us. It'll be better than this. It'll be better than me taking my shirt off.
I don't know, man. You're
Getting
cut.
ice thrown at me. Yeah, I mean, I look great. My collarbone looks hot, man. Lily, where are we going for VSP?
We're going to Philly for this beautiful fast break from the Sixers. TJ McConnell over to Dario Hušarić with Sir Bobby Cobb for a beautiful finish. Here it is again. Look at this. This is just
solid behind the back.
Yeah, and then look at that beautiful
No
pass.
look.
Great finish. That's what I call a very solid play.
All right, we talked about it a little earlier in the show. We had our Twitter show this morning. We talked Braun and Barkley in detail, whether the Raps should trade for Ibaka, and Taz hits us with some hilarious NBA tweet heat.
The Milwaukee Bucks were honoring some season ticket holders, and they were at midcourt. Here's a photo to show you them. The family is called the Anderson family, and the tweet comes from Tim Ray. The tweet is, how did they get tickets? The Andersons got tickets to the game.
Very nice. Lee, we got some fan signs.
TJ, Tyler, and Sarah, brothers and sisters out there in
that's
Philly.
awesome.
A three-person sign, fantastic job. Marley and Anya out in Phoenix, also brother and sister combination there. They love weekend whoopsies. Giannis, 5-year-old Giannis out in Sydney, Australia, with another fan sign. And Exon and Friend in Toronto with a very nice sign. Very well done.
Keep it
Her name's-
simple.
her name's
Keep it
Chen.
simple.
Her name's Chen. She's nice.
All right, excellent stuff, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, if you want a diversion, watch Divergent.
Race the night, people. Do you like it?
No. No.